Welcome to the Financial Purpose Podcast. All opinions expressed by me or guests of the podcast are solely our own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Life Moves Wealth Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial or investment decisions. Clients of Life Moves Wealth Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. Hello, I'm your host, Dale Shafer, and here's another great episode starting now.
Let's go.
Welcome to episode 40 of the Financial Purpose Podcast. Today, I'm here with Karen Moon, and Karen is a good friend of mine. We've done a couple of these. I've been on your podcast. Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of these conversations about money, just kind of back and forth, and we thought it'd be a fun idea to come on. I don't know where this conversation's going to go. Maybe we're going to talk about women in money. Maybe we're going to talk about money in general. Maybe we're going to talk about bathroom remodeling. I don't even know. So glad you're here, Karen. Why don't you just give kind of an introduction, who you are, what you're doing these days?
Sure. And it's so fun. So Dale knows that I just love to talk about money. So I appreciate that you took time today to have me over. But so Karen Moon, I've been in the mortgage industry, almost 29 years, I think it is. Kind of start losing count. And then a couple years ago, I've started this idea about helping women when it comes to money. So after 2008 crash, I was just so frustrated on how one of the richest countries in the world could just literally overnight pretty much go broke. Like everybody was losing their homes and everything was coming down financially. Mm-hmm. And being in the mortgage industry, I was just I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I started on this journey of trying to understand why we just weren't prepared for it and all those kind of things. So since 2008, I've been coaching and, the Ramseys and learning and reading everything. I finally created my own coaching business, which is called the Money Organizer. And I brought on a co-founder, Lindsay Winter, that works with me because she is younger and more techie than I am. I'm definitely not the techie person in the group. But together we have designed really a great program that we think will help women with some education, learning that day-to-day money. Because we think if we can just get a new foundation about money, that they have a better chance. Because right now they just don't have anyone to talk to. Mm-hmm. And the other passion I have because I did this is I've always wanted mentors in my life. And it's really hard to find other mentors, people that will talk the talk, that understand money and those kind of things. And so I meet a lot of young girls in their 30s that are wanting to become entrepreneurs and there's not really anyone for them to just sit down and have a cup of coffee with and talk about money and ask questions, So I kind of offer myself out as if you want to have a cup of coffee and talk money, just call me up. I would love to. I love that. But the coaching is more of a personal one-on-one, really strategizing, the nitty-gritty, the day-to-day. What are your numbers doing? What is the story the numbers are telling you? And what is the story your life wants to tell you? Because we all want more,
Sure.
But that's kind of what I've been doing. And I'm in my 60s now. And my husband used to say I should retire. And he goes, "You're never going to retire. Just keep going."
That's a word in my office. That's a word that I almost feel like I should have a swear jar for. Like every time someone says the word retirement, we put a quarter in there. Yeah. Because nobody knows what in the world it even means anyway, because it's all over the place with what retirement really is. And so like you and I are wired very similarly where I don't know that I'm ever going to be done. Like, as long as this is working and I'm lucid, I should be doing something productive, right? And
and I just feel like there's so much to share with people.
Yeah.
Like, I love to read the books and listen to the podcasts, and I like to sort it out, and then I want to tell you what it meant. Because a lot of people just shut down, and sometimes I have to be careful. I'll get into too much terminology about GDP and, and the yields and the bonds, and they're just the glaze starts to kick in.
You're telling me. I know. It's funny. I just this morning I did a presentation for the Arizona Commerce Authority. They had a business owner boot camp series that they've ran all April because April's Financial Literacy Month, right? And so they've been talking about how to understand your financials as a business owner. And so I came in to close that series on now that you have an idea of how your financials work, here are the hidden costs of living out of your business and using the business as your personal piggy bank, right?
Which they do.
And it just seems like, oh, well, I'm going to get paid anyway, so I just shortcut the process and swipe the business card, and then next thing you know, you don't have operating capital, right? And there's tax issues and all these other things. But it's funny, I practiced in front of a live audience last week. I got together a group of people I network with. Yeah. And they reminded me that I have to be very careful of acronyms. And the acronyms I were using in that presentation was KPI, COGS, right? And EBITDA.
And they were like, what is that?
And I'm like, these are business owners. And they're like, yeah, but they might not know what those terms mean. I'm like, but they're business owners. And they're like, no. You have to assume they don't know what those terms mean. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's...
Well, and I did a quick reel the other day just because I'm forcing myself on social media, which I hate. And I just did a really quick, because GDP had come out or something. And I said, so what that means is y'all need to quit spending money so the Fed will lower the rates. And even Lindsay said to me, so I didn't get it. I was like, okay, well, we'll simplify it next time.
That is because I've had to explain that really since the pandemic. I've spent 4 years explaining to clients like how inflation comes through the economy and how GDP works and how the import and export matters and just like all of these things. And it's just it's really complex stuff. And sometimes by hearing what even the Fed governors say, I'm like, I don't think those people understand what they're talking about either.
I don't think they know.
But
I would love to know their thought process behind how they read reports, because I'm like, yeah, I just look at the numbers. I guess we could put it as simple as you are paying double and triple what you used to pay for groceries, gas, and your day-to-day living.
Yeah.
So, but your salaries haven't gone up triple. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's inflation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we have a chart on that, but before we go to the chart, I want to come back to something you said a couple of minutes ago and ask a question about it. So you had said that often women don't have anyone that they can talk to. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
I don't know. And when I reference that, I'm looking for someone that knows more than I know. Like I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. Mm-hmm. I always want to learn from people. So I think, sometimes we have parents and sometimes we don't. So and even if we have parents that are wise and have lots of wisdom, as younger adults, we don't listen to them.
No. Why would we do that? They don't know anything.
And I think my mom probably had some good wisdom and told me some things, but I was in my early 20s and more rebellious, and I can do this myself, right? Mm-hmm. And then I got to a point, and of course my mom passed when I was in my early 20s, so then I didn't even have that. And so then I didn't have anybody to go to. I've had maybe a couple good employers, like managers that were women, that were really good mentors in my life and gave me some good life lessons and stuff. But if you're not searching for that, I don't think people are volunteering to be that.
Yeah, I learned when I was first getting into financial planning and learning how to do real financial planning. I had already had some investment management training and was already managing portfolios, but then I learned how to do financial planning and what was involved in those conversations. And the advisor that I trained under was very good at realizing and working through the fact that the male advisor to the female client, that is a broken kind of relationship in a lot of respects. Mm-hmm. And it's even worse a lot of times when it's a married couple and the advisor, because usually the male advisor carries a relationship with the male client and kind of doesn't really address her a lot in the conversation, or maybe talks over her head, or doesn't, develop a relationship with her. And so if something happens to the husband, the numbers are like, it's like 83% of the time she leaves that advisor within the first year and starts over. And that's the most vulnerable time for a widow to be moving money around, because she has to develop trust with somebody. She has to start over, tell her story, move accounts.
Doesn't mean they're emotional anyways.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so they're easier to be taken advantage of. It's a bad time. And so I learned in that setting that if you're with a husband and wife, you have a relationship with both. And either of them need to be just as comfortable, contacting, asking questions, bringing up concerns during a meeting or whatever. And I've always felt like there's a lot of sensitivity there. But from a woman's point of view, it's interesting to me, of course, when you said that, because I think it's true. But B, I wonder if that's a problem that industry has created, or if that's a social norm adjustment.
It could be both, really. I mean, if you think about it, back in the 70s, women couldn't get credit cards. They couldn't buy houses. They couldn't get credit and all that. So it started early. And, it's always been kind of the man does the work and brings in the money, controls the money. And I just think that goes through depending on your upbringing and how that works out.
Right.
So, and it's funny. So I don't think a lot of women are probably as interested in money like I am. So I can go to a group just of friends and for dinner, and I'm always the one talking about the market and the world, and other women aren't. They're just not interested. So I may just be that weird person in the room that does that. But
I've told you what Melissa does, right? So I'll want to sit down and talk about, hey, this is where we are. This is what's moving. This is what I'm doing. This is the strategy, blah, blah, blah. And I'll get a couple minutes in and she'll tap my hand and she'll say, this is why I have a financial advisor. And she will leave the conversation. And I'm like, hey, you need to, I might die. You need to know this stuff. And she's like, it'll be fine. So,
yeah. And there's that. They just don't want to know. But the thing about life is at some point, it kind of throws it in your face.
Yeah.
And that's what we see, divorce and becoming a widow. And now here you are at the most crucial time of your life with so much going on, and now you have to manage money. And they don't know what to do with it, and the fear factor is out the door, and then they start making bad decisions, and it just spirals from there.
Yeah.
So, but I've had several women clients or just friends tell me exactly what you just said about happened with financial advisors. One where the husband golfed with the other financial advisor, so she did not trust that he had her back if something happened. And the other one, she wanted a second home, and of course he didn't want her to move the money, and he downplayed her second home dream of having with her grandchildren. And she would have fired him right on the spot, the way he talked to her at the meeting. So he will get fired one day if something happens to her husband.
Oh, for sure. And I always feel like if I'm meeting with a couple and they're interviewing me, they're considering hiring me as their advisor. If I don't do enough work to develop a good relationship with her as much as I do with him in the meeting, there's no way that I'm getting hired, because if she doesn't like the advisor, it doesn't matter. It's not happening.
And that's with anything now, buying houses and everything. So there's always a decision maker, but the other person needs to feel heard.
Yeah.
Whether they care or not, they need to feel that they're a part of the conversation and have a say, whether they want to or not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I just feel there's just not enough women out there. I would probably love to start getting more women that are like me to go out and offer themselves to young or to whomever. Take the time and have it part of your calling, and give time to people just to talk, and because there's not probably a lot of us out there, I would guess, that don't go to the beach and read or they don't read love books. They read Ray Dowell at the beach, and I'm like, people are looking at me.
Hmm. Hmm. So we were talking a little earlier about inflation and that kind of thing, and I think, and I'm hoping that you can validate this, but for women, for years we've heard about the wage gap between men and women,
Mm-hmm.
and so that on its own, when there's no other outside forces, is problematic, right? Because women are earning, X% less than men, whatever that is now. I think that moves around quite a bit, right?
Yeah, depending on the career.
And so, whatever that is, when we hit periods of inflation, that tends to hit women, especially single women
Mm-hmm.
and single mothers, harder than it hits a lot of people, and it tends to be an extra tax on lower and especially middle income individuals is where that's felt the most, because that's where most of the discretionary spending is occurring, right?
Correct.
So, Josh, if you want to throw up that inflation chart, yeah, it's got that ready. So, this is going back. I went back 10 years on this chart, and you can see on the purple line is your nominal inflation rate, and then the orange line at the top there is core inflation. And core inflation is a bit higher than nominal, but again, core inflation, basically, that's just going to be the change of a basket of goods and services, but it doesn't include fuel and energy,
Right.
food and energy,
Yeah.
fuel and energy,
Yeah,
same
I
thing.
knew what you meant.
Food and energy, because those are very volatile and they tend to move around. But what's interesting is that we hit that spike in 2022 where inflation went up to just a little over 9%, and then it kind of came back down, and now it's just wavering, right? And the Fed's trying to get us back down to 2%. I don't know that that's a realistic target
I wouldn't say,
in this
I
economy
don't see it.
anymore.
A lot would have to happen for that.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of jobs will be lost for that to happen.
Well, that's the other thing, because the other side of inflation is, of course, their other mandate, which is a stable labor market.
Mm-hmm.
And the labor market's been really tight. So literally for 3 years, we've been rooting for about 1.5 million people to lose their jobs,
Right.
so the Fed can cut interest rates, right? And so yeah, that's really problematic. But with inflation being where it is, and then you can see the CPI number just continuing to climb, and really like a rocket ship after the pandemic. And we heard all the supply chain issues and all the container ships sitting out in the port of Los Angeles and all that fun stuff forever. And then the Ever Given being stuck in the Suez, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
And so like all of those issues, but that, and I think you said this earlier, the thing is that because it no longer costs what it used to. It costs more for just about anything. Those prices don't revert. And you can see it
They
right
don't.
there on the chart.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of sad because COVID was the problem, right? And then printing so much money,
Mm-hmm.
and then the work mentality. Like a lot of things happened over those couple years that really have put us where we're at, but they don't go back. It's like, I used to work for an employer and they're like, well, we're going to take a little bit less here, because things are slowing down and we want to stay open. I'm like, as soon as you cut my salary a little bit less, you're never going to give that back.
No.
So what are your options?
It's your new norm.
It's your new norm. And this is, I'm afraid, is a new norm, but wages are not keeping up with this. You just can't.
Right.
So I'm pretty concerned. So just to go get gas and food, even if that's all you did in life, it's really hard for people to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
So then add in you want to do something and have some fun, or you have kids, and just add anything to that. Now that's where the credit card problem comes in, because what they've done is they've leaned into the credit. It's a buy now, pay later mentality, and it's gotten so common that people don't think about it. But that is what I'm more concerned about, is using the credit cards to buy food. That's a problem, because it could take, $6,000 credit card at 30% interest, which some of them are between 25 and 29 easy.
Yep.
It'll take you 30 years if you make the minimum payment on that. Like, people don't think about, they just think about the minimum payment.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it fits into the budget. but it's just costing them so much money that they could have really great lives,
Yeah.
and it'll take one event to put them in a really bad place.
Well, and the problem is that, that $6,000 credit card, right? And you're making your minimum payment and your interest is somewhere between 25 and 30. And right now, the average credit card rate is right around 25%. And that's because of where interest rates are. And of course, credit cards are pegged to not the Fed funds rate, but they're pegged to, I'm losing my train of thought as I speak. They're tied to the prime rate. And so prime rate right now is at 8.5%. And then there's a spread on top of that. There's your credit card rate.
Yeah.
So it's not just the $6,000 and then you make your minimum payments. It's the fact that $6,000 compounds interest against you, and so that $6,000 balance is growing, even if you're not spending, just because you're making the minimum payment.
And I don't know if you know, but does it almost double in a couple years? The amount of debt,
the interest at those
what you
rates,
owe,
at those rates for sure, it'll compound pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love compound interest because it can be a great thing in a positive way.
If it's working for you.
But it can also, people don't think about compounding in anything in life. It works in a negative way, like bad eating habits. It compounds, right? So compounding negatively is probably worse than compounding positively.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
it's really working against you, I think, at a faster rate.
Yeah. And because we're talking about it, Josh, can we have the personal savings and credit chart? This one is really interesting to me. Yep, that one. Thank you. This one's interesting because there's been a lot of talk over the past couple of months about the fact that the credit card balances are
over $1 trillion.
Well, yeah, quite a bit, and so they're continuing to climb, and you can really see it since really coming out of the Great Recession. That number, I mean, the line just is up and to the right in the worst way. But I think there's some dispute over whether that's because people are putting more balances on the cards, or is it the fact that more people have cards and therefore the balance grows just because of the sheer number of people who are charging credit cards?
Well, it's our new way, right? So after in the 1980s, when people pretty much more people could get access to cards. So you can see where it started to slightly go up.
Yeah.
In the 1980s. So yes, more people are converting, and the way the system is developed, that you almost need a credit card, right? If you travel, rent a car, so everyone is kind of shifted into the credit card versus the debit card. But what I think a couple things have happened is, I don't see people with 6,000. I know that's kind of an average. I think it's closer to 8 now, what people carry on a card. But most people can borrow on a credit card up to like 30,000.
Yeah, sure.
And they're doing that.
Yeah.
And then they'll have multiple cards at 30,000. So we're working with many people that are easily 6 figures in credit card debt.
Debt or
credit card
capacity?
Debt. No, debt.
Wow. Ouch.
Because, again, when you don't have a plan and you just get this swipe now, pay later, before rates went up, it was doable. But now rates have gone up, and those people are now financially they're probably looking at debt consolidation and bankruptcies and things like that, because that payment goes up really quick when it goes to 25 to 30%.
Yeah.
But the credit card companies have allowed them to spend, I can't imagine the amount of money they're making on the interest on these things. But I just think it's criminal. It's just criminal. Like, why would you give somebody 30,000? Or if you can see they already have one at 30, that you'll give them another 30. Like, is anybody not responsible about money anymore? But I know it's all profit driven. I mean, the credit card companies make that. I can't even imagine what they're making on interest.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it really comes back to even what you alluded to at the beginning, is that there's not a lot of access to good financial literacy for a lot of people. We don't teach it very well in high school, if at all.
Or even in college.
We don't teach it very well in college. And then we send these adults out to contribute to the world without having skills to do the number one thing that matters most every single thing that they do, every decision in their adult life has a financial implication.
Everything.
Everything,
Mhm.
every little thing. And so it's really sad. And it's the same thing for, for business owners, right? So we train people in college to be a thing,
Mhm.
a doctor, a lawyer, a chiropractor, an engineer, whatever.
Right.
We don't teach them how to go out and actually start their business. We tell them to start a business because they'll make more money.
Mhm.
We don't tell them how to be business owners and how to
Be profitable.
be profitable. Yeah, like we don't
Profit first kind of mentality.
exactly. And so it's really I see it all the time working with a lot of business owners. There's just a lot of it looks like mismanagement.
Mhm.
They don't know. They just simply don't know. So it's easy to look at it and go, boy, you're mismanaging this business and you have this fiduciary duty to run this better, but they don't know.
Yeah, and again, and then if you look at just if they're not even business owners, then the retirement thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next big problem.
Quarter in the jar.
Yeah, right. If I had a quarter, I'd give it to you, but I don't carry change.
I don't have a jar, so we're both in luck.
But because, again, I'm in that season, nobody taught us about how to retire with income either.
Oh, sure.
So I know the mentality. A lot of kids, they're not driven by money, I hear. They want to live life and experiences, which I love. I mean, I did that in my 20s. But if somebody would at least say, you have a future self, and they're not going to be happy with you
Mm-hmm.
when they can't afford a home and they can't go on vacation and they have to work till they're in their 70s or 80s. And at least it doesn't take much. Like, as a financial advisor, it doesn't take much to plan for your future you. Again, because compound interest
If you
can
start.
do it.
Yeah.
If you start.
If you start.
Like, have that jar, right, where you just always put something into it. But that's another crisis coming between Social Security and just not planning for how do you have income when you don't want to work?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I never thought about it until I wanted to retire.
Yeah, I wonder often, especially on social media, like how much of that is real, because I can't figure out how in the world to do it, especially with a family, right? Because I see people who are like, we have. It's us. We have our 2 kids, and we're just traveling the world, and we're teaching them about how to be a global citizen and these kinds of things. You're like, that costs money. Like how?
Well, they say in Vietnam it's pretty cheap to live, so maybe they're going to be.
I hear Costa Rica, but now it's overran by Americans, so it's not going to be that inexpensive anymore because we're going to go and consume.
That's on my list to go back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, education, having mentors, you need to seek out people. I'm a seeker and a connector, so but most people aren't. And even young girls that I know, they're raising kids and families. Like, they got a lot going on. Like, I get it. How do you make time to worry about this when all you gotta do is put it on a credit card and worry about it later?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how to put the red flag up, like, yeah, this is not going to end well. And it's coming quick. You probably see it on your side. Yeah, I just hope it's not as 2008 again. I don't see a housing crisis, but I just see a financial paycheck to paycheck crisis.
I mean, it could come through the form of credit. It could be a credit crisis. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't see real estate being the catalyst this time,
unless it's commercial.
Commercial real estate is definitely a challenge. I mean, there are a lot of people who are pulling out of having these massive office complexes because nobody wants to be there anymore. Nobody wants to sit in a cubicle.
Right.
Everybody got really comfortable wearing Crocs and shorts at home, right? And like, I don't have to necessarily shower today if I don't really want to because nobody's going to see me and I can turn my camera off on the Zoom call. Right?
Exactly.
So it's like, it's a whole different environment. So I think commercial real estate is certainly going to be an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, and they're seeing lots of cracks already. Like, this year is going to be that year for the commercial world because those notes are coming due. And there's some people that are looking at that as opportunities, the people with big bucks,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
But I'm like, how do you convert a commercial building? You can't really make it residential, like where you make, because then usually the plumbing isn't satisfied. Everybody would have showers and toilets and stuff
Right.
like that. So I don't know what their plan is to convert them into like apartments, because there's a need for housing.
For sure.
I just don't know structurally how that works, because I'm not that smart to do that. But
I'll tell you, before they tore down the Paradise Valley Mall,
oh yeah, so
I
sad.
I know. I used to think, like, I walked through there, like after the the demolition was, like, after everybody knew it was coming down. I walked through there and I'm like, this would be the most amazing retirement community for millennials and Gen Xers ever, because it would be like so nostalgic. Like, you would walk in your front door and it'd be like walking in the front door of, Hot Topic or whatever, but it's your house, right? And then you all can go out to the food court and have your dinners and whatever and play the arcade games. Like, this would be amazing.
It was a great little mall.
That was a cool little mall. But any mall, any like Class A retail space like that, I think it's probably prime for some kind of mixed use redevelopment. It's just a matter, like you said, how do you, the infrastructure of it, how do you make that work? And then how do you get people to actually do that? Because if you have like another COVID type event, that is just going to be a disaster piece, right? Because nobody has anywhere to go, and it's all common space when you walk out of your front door,
Yeah. So lots of fun things financially. So,
Yeah.
we're just hoping that, we can just chat with enough people to save a few of us that want to do something about it. And I try to keep things super simple. Like, I'm trying to get better of, don't say GTP. They don't know what that means. Just talk about it as far as bread. And yeah, it's knowing your numbers. Like, I do applications, right, every day.
Right.
And of course, we ask, how much money do you make? Most people couldn't tell me exactly what they make, which is always kind of funny to me. Like, they don't really have a clue. And that's a good starting point. Sit down and figure out how much you make, and figure out how much you make an hour, so that when you go and go for lunch, and it's now $25 for a couple tacos and a drink, but you only made 20 at the office for that hour. Is that really worth? Is it worth it? This or that?
It's a really good way to think about it. Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're not going to have enough to pay the electric bill at the end of the day. And it's going to get hot here soon, so everybody should start putting
true.
some money aside.
Yeah, we're well on our way to the temperatures climbing, for sure.
So we always set up for people, again, the spending's the problem. So we set up clarity in their spending, right? So people just get kind of real about, where's all my money going? But then we also set up a separate one that they can see their future spending, because people don't think about car registrations, vacations, the things that happen once in a while, and there's no money there for that. I don't even call it an emergency fund anymore, because life is just one big emergency.
I have a client who literally, when you look at their accounts, its nickname is "Oh shit." It's the "Oh shit" account. So
that's a great name, actually.
Yeah.
I may have to use that. And then we set up, basically it's like an old envelope system.
Yeah.
But it's in a high yield savings account, so it's
Sure.
doing some stuff. But nothing should be a surprise. If you have a pet, you should have an account, because things will happen for your pets, right? But it's very rare. Medical, there should be money set aside for pretty much everything in life, because you should know pretty much. There should be. So it's not a savings account. Quit calling it savings. What are you saving for? No, it's a future spending. We're going to spend it all.
It really is. Yeah, that's exactly right. And you mentioned Profit First. That's a book I talked about today in my presentation. So Mike Michalowicz.
I love that book.
It's a great book, and it's very much what you're talking about, right? You have designated accounts for these very specific things, because that money will be used. It doesn't just get to sit and live and collect pennies of interest or whatever.
I think it's the way he does his account, where he makes you set up separate accounts for everything.
Yep.
Right. I think it's 5 accounts he does for
Yep. And then
for
you have
your taxes,
2.
your profit, your operating expenses, and all.
Yeah.
And because we have to be forced to put that money somewhere so we don't spend it. Some people are better. Like I see arguments where like, why do I need so many different accounts, right? And even what we teach 2 checking accounts and at least a savings,
Mm-hmm.
expenses, spending, and savings or future spending, right? You have to do that because you need clarity. Where's the money going? And I think you need peace of mind to know it's there to spend.
Right.
It gives you permission. Yes, I hate paying taxes, but the money's there, and it doesn't cause that friction mentally that it was never there, and now you're taking it out of something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I love how he does that for business. Every business owner should at least start there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And now what I think you're talking about when we're talking about spending and setting up separate accounts and that mental shift, we're really talking about behavioral finance in this point, right? Because
It is.
spending is behavioral. It's not
It is.
It's not like, oh, I'm just irresponsible and I'm going to YOLO myself into whatever I want. It really is like there is something else that's driving the behavior that causes you to want to spend. And then also to be able to justify the spending in addition. So in your work, how are you working around the behavioral aspect of that?
Well, we start with the foundation of really talking to people about what their true goals are and their true values are. And most people, they'll quickly say, oh, yeah, these are my top values, We're like, no, we're going to go a little bit deeper because everybody always seems to have the same top ones, faith, family, friends, fun, and, health and stuff.
Honesty,
like
integrity, all those things, right.
So then we're like, well, let's talk about each one of those and go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Because your money is flowing because of what you value. Or it may be flowing in contrast to what you really think. If you said your family was most important, your kids and education, but you're not putting any money away for education and stuff. We just try to bring that to the forefront so we can reset up the money flow so now it's in a line and hopefully your behaviors will react to that.
Right.
So we're all about, whatever the client is and whatever works that they need to hear, everybody's different. Some people are as simple as it's this or that. It's we do something for the kids or we go out and blow $100 for food, so we just teach them to make decisions. I'm definitely not a therapist because I have little empathy. So I don't try to be a therapist when I'm coaching money. I am trying to get them to figure out who they are and who they really want to be. Because sometimes once you've gotten in debt and the rat race of life, you have forgotten. You're just trying to keep up. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses and everything else. And with all the social media, they're trying to make you think you need to consume to be happy. And so there's all these underlying, the world is against you, right? So if I can make you just kind of figure out, I don't really want that. I'd rather have my life look like this. We do exercises for pretend it's a year later and write yourself a letter what the year looked like. And then we do it as 5 years, 10 years, retirement years. You need to really start thinking about this because money does matter and every decision you make matters. So, we just have lots of conversations.
That's a really neat exercise. I like that a lot. I know as part of my process, I have my clients, when we first start working together, I have them go through a similar exercise, but we write what we call a statement of financial purpose, which is really like a mission statement, but for money.
Right.
And so people tend to, we just want to be, we want to make sure that we make good decisions and we have enough for retirement. And I'll say that's not a that's not a financial purpose statement, right? That's like fluff.
Yeah.
So what does that really mean? Like push yourself on this. And so then we get to like what really matters to them. And the reason why we do that is because when they come with a financial question or a decision that they're trying to make,
Then you go back to that.
And I say, do we have alignment here, right? And I always tell people, like, if you read my financial purpose in the software, it says it's 3 parts. One is I have to remember to make time and resources available for family adventures. Second is I want my business to be thriving so that my wife doesn't depend on me for her professional choices, right? So we have enough money where she can do what she wants to do.
Okay.
That satisfies her. And then number 3, I want to give freely.
Okay.
And so if I have those 3 things and you're my financial advisor and I come with this great idea that I just saw the most beautiful red Ferrari and I'm going to go buy it.
And you're going to go.
The first question isn't, gee, I don't know, can you afford it, right? The first question is, sounds awesome. What color is the interior? Because quite honestly, a red Ferrari, like there is only one choice for that interior. Or
black.
Tan.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Right? Like really.
See, there were 3 choices though.
Okay. But for me, right? And I don't even like Ferraris. But anyway, like, and then the question is like, that sounds cool. Okay, let's take a look at where does this align for you, right? Is it going to give you the ability to have some family adventures? Maybe, right? If you're going to take it up the PCH or whatever. Does it create the resources to give your wife options professionally? Sketch. Does it help you give freely? Sketch, right? So let's talk about alignment of priorities, because sometimes those are just very emotional decisions. Sometimes that exercise, and like the one you're talking about, can literally save somebody from blowing up their lives in a midlife crisis because they don't have congruity in what they're doing and what they want for themselves.
Yeah. People forget what they really want about. And when we do it, I always tell them, I want you to like describe the weather, where you're at, what you're wearing, who's with you.
Yeah.
Because it makes it real. So we used to do it at work. I used to make all the kids that work for me. And then a year later, we would go to the restaurant, I imagine, and we'd have lunch, and we all had to read our letters. And boy, it was like the weirdest thing to like look like what you predicted your life to be. Now, not everything was 100%. We would laugh about some of the things, it didn't work out, but it helps you financially to get where you want.
Sure.
There's something about planting seeds of what you want your life to be and how things will materialize if you are on purpose. So like back in 2008, and when I was starting that, I knew I wanted a certain lifestyle when I retired. I wanted to be able to take my kids on vacation and be able to pay for it. But those all things, it took 15, 20 years, but they all have come true. They didn't come true without a plan. Financially,
right. I
had to know I could put money away. I would need money to do big things. But it's cool when they come to, they happen, and you can say, look, I know you don't see it in your 20s and 30s, but this stuff works. But you have to, see your future, how you want it, and then you have to do little things. It was little seeds, little plants, and it all came, they grew. Those seeds all grew.
Yeah. So, we've been talking for a little bit, and we've kind of hit a bunch of different things, but I think there's been some pretty good nuggets in there with a lot of what you've said, Karen. What would you want somebody who has listened to this conversation, what would you want them to have as like one really good takeaway from either what we said or maybe what we haven't yet said, that would just be, they can hear it, they can apply it, it's actionable, it's going to help them take a next step?
Well, I would say first, the easiest things you can do is there's so much great information out there. If you're not a reader, there's podcasts, there's listeners. Find mentors, even if they're not someone you can have a cup of coffee with. They're out there. And just take baby steps and start listening of different ways you can financially change your life. Financially, a tip, I tell everyone, make sure your money's working for you. Like, do simple things like open up a high yield savings account and start saving, even if it's $20. Like you just need to start
and shop for those, because to add on to that, I think that there are people who like, my money is in this bank and I'm never going to move it out of this bank. When there's something that's better over here, do it. Like,
Yeah. And it's probably better it's at a separate bank anyways. But your big banks do not have high yield savings.
Right.
So you can go to, is it NerdWallet or, those kind of things that you can Google that stuff and they will give you that. And I would try to just say, you've got to have a plan. Whatever your life looks like to you, it's going to change. I'm just going to tell you. And just, nurture yourself, take care of yourself, because the debt is just causing stress and taking away a great life. I know, hire a coach and a mentor and surround yourself with good people that know more than you know.
Yeah.
Don't be the smartest person in the room.
Oh, I know. That was my takeaway that I had jotted down is find somebody you can talk to.
Yeah.
Who you can be real about, because money is one of those things that we have a hard time being real about, because it's probably like more personal than, like, I'll share my blood work with you. I don't want to talk to you about money, right?
It's so taboo.
I know.
Why is that? Like, nobody wants to talk about money. And I'm like, no, let's talk about money.
Yeah.
I don't need to know how much money you make, because I know that is a taboo thing. Friendships can be lost probably over
Sure.
things like that. But there's like just our conversation, talking about the world and the money and what it's doing, and go have fun in life. I can tell you the freedom is in having a plan.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, Karen, I've had a lot of fun. I've enjoyed the conversation. Tell us how people can get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you for to have somebody to talk to and just for some good coaching, right? How do they get in touch with you?
I'll be bold enough. They can call me, and they just say, you heard me here. And so my cell is 602-292-2239. The Money Organizer is our website for our coaching. So if it's designed for women. Sorry, guys. I know.
The guys can call me. That's
the guys
fine.
can call Adele.
Just kidding.
Yeah, but if it's a coaching program. It's a 6-month program, and we just get to the point and help you declutter the mess. Just give you a plan, and it's a great program. And that's probably the best way, because you can reach out that way and just send me a message or book an inquiry call. So themoneyorganizer.com.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put all of that in the show notes as well, so that way people can see it and know how to reach out to you. So one more time with the phone number and the website.
It's 602-292-2239, themoneyorganizer.com, and all our contact information is on there. And if you have questions about buying a house or reverse mortgages, I also have that'd be a whole nother show.
Yes, and that's where you've spent most of your career. So
yeah,
that's perfect. And of course, if you would like any information about what Karen's doing, or even what we're doing at Life Moves Wealth, as a next step, feel free to shoot an email to info@lifemoveswealth.com, and I'll get you connected to Karen. We'll get you connected to some of the resources that we have, and we'll be as helpful as we can.
Yeah, how fun.
Perfect. All right. Well, this has been a great episode 40. So thank you, Karen, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And until next time, take care. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Learn more about your financial purpose at lifemoveswealth.com.